Dirt is perhaps one of the most common blocks in the existence of Minecraft, and by extension it is considered worthless because it is everywhere. But have you ever stopped to wonder what the true meaning behind dirt is? I'm narrator Aaron, and this is the tale of dirt. When the sun begins to disappear, the player doesn't have time to build a castle. They don't need a mansion. They don't need diamonds. They need walls. And what better material to build those walls than dirt? A few blocks thrown together can turn an empty field into a shelter, four walls, a ceiling, and suddenly the night isn't so frightening anymore. It's ugly, it's cramped, and probably the worst house you've ever built, but it keeps the monsters out. And sometimes, that's all survival means. A handful of dirt between you and the darkness. Because when the player first enters a world, dirt is often one of the first things they can rely on. They don't have enchanted armor. They don't have a sword made of diamonds. They don't have a carefully designed base waiting for them. They have their hands and the ground beneath their feet. So they dig into the ground and build themselves a little place to survive. It may only last one night, but that night matters. Because tomorrow, they might have stone, and the day after that, iron, and eventually something much greater. But every great Minecraft world has to begin somewhere, and sometimes it begins inside a dirt shack. And if you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe. I have more stories coming up. Dirt doesn't only protect the player, though. Sometimes it protects the world from remembering what happened. A creeper explodes. The landscape is torn apart. A perfectly good path becomes a crater. A hillside is left scarred. Pieces of the player's home are scattered across the ground. And what does the player do? They reach for dirt. Block by block, they fill the hole, they cover the damage, they rebuild the ground until eventually, nobody would know anything ever happened. Dirt quietly hides the scars Minecraft leaves behind. It doesn't erase the destruction. It simply gives the player something to build over it. And this happens more often than we realize. A creeper blows up the side of a mountain. Dirt. A player falls into a ravine and needs a way back up. Dirt. A careless explosion destroys part of a village. Dirt. A player digs somewhere they weren't supposed to and leaves a giant hole in the middle of their beautiful landscape. Dirt. It's almost as if dirt is Minecraft's apology. Something goes wrong, and dirt is there to make it right again. And before the player builds something beautiful, they usually build something terrible. A tower is too tall. A wall is in the wrong place. The bridge needs to move 3 blocks to the left. So the player reaches for dirt. They stack it up. Mark boundaries. Measure the height. Outline the shape. Dirt becomes the architect's pencil. It's temporary, cheap, and completely disposable. But before the castle becomes stone, the dirt already knows where the castle is going to be. Every great build starts as an idea, and ideas aren't always easy to see, so the player turns them into blocks. A line of dirt becomes a wall. A few pillars become a tower. A patch of dirt becomes the outline of a village. And suddenly, something that was only in the player's imagination begins to exist in the world. They eventually replace it. They'll tear it down. They'll build something bigger. That doesn't make the dirt useless, because sometimes the first version of something has to be ugly before it can become beautiful. And perhaps we forget what dirt really is, because before it became a building material, before it became a placeholder, before it became something we casually threw into a chest, it was the ground. It's what the player walks across every single day. It's what holds the grass beneath their feet. It's what they till when they plant their first seeds. A tiny patch of dirt becomes a wheat field. A wheat field becomes food. And food becomes survival. Somehow, something so ordinary becomes responsible for keeping an entire journey alive. The player walks across dirt without thinking about it. They plant their crops in it. They build their homes upon it. They return to it after every adventure. And no matter how far they travel, no matter how high they build, no matter how deep they descend, dirt is always waiting beneath them. We might dig up dirt for a project, dump it all into a chest, and leave it there for years. But in specific situations, dirt is more valuable than diamonds. Imagine a world without dirt. Animals wouldn't spot, and you wouldn't be able to plant crops. Trees wouldn't grow, and the world would feel lifeless. It's easy to overlook something when it's always been there, but perhaps that's what makes dirt so important. It never asks to be noticed. It simply stays, and maybe that's why dirt feels so familiar. Because if you think about it, there are people in our lives who are a lot like dirt. They aren't the loudest. They aren't the ones standing in the spotlight. They don't ask to be noticed. They simply stay. They're there when we're building ourselves from nothing. They're there when we're scared. When everything we thought we had falls apart, they're the ones who quietly help us put the pieces back together. And sometimes we don't even realize what they gave us. We grow stronger. We move forward. We build something beautiful. And somewhere along the way, we forget about the people who helped us build it. Just like dirt, we replace it with something more impressive and never think twice about what was underneath. But the truth is, not everything valuable looks valuable. Some of the greatest things we'll ever have won't sparkle. They won't make us rich. They won't make us famous. Sometimes they'll just sit beside us when we're having a terrible day. Sometimes they'll listen when we have nothing worth saying. Sometimes they'll simply stay when everyone else has left. And maybe that's what makes those things so precious. Because the world teaches us to search for diamonds, to chase the rare, to admire the extraordinary. But life has a strange way of reminding us that we couldn't have built anything without the ordinary. So maybe we should be a little kinder to the dirt beneath our feet. And maybe a little kinder to the people standing quietly beside us. Because one day, we might look back and realize the things we thought were worthless were the very things that carried us through. And by the time we finally understand their value, we may wish we'd thanked them sooner. So, don't wait until someone is gone from your life to realize what they meant to you. Don't wait until the foundation disappears to appreciate what was holding you up. Sometimes the most important things in our lives are the things we barely notice. The things that never asked for anything. The things that simply stayed. Just like dirt. But let's be honest, dirt isn't exactly impressive. You can't brag about finding dirt. Nobody gets excited when they see a stack of it in a chest. It isn't rare. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't make impressive armor. You can find thousands of blocks without even trying. It's probably one of the most boring blocks in the entire game. Congratulations, you found dirt. What are you going to do with it? Build a magnificent castle? No. You're probably going to fill a hole, maybe use it to climb somewhere. Maybe you'll throw it away because your inventory is full. Maybe you'll walk past an entire mountain without giving it a second thought. And honestly, why would you? It's just dirt. It has no special ability, no legendary history, no great reward for collecting it. It's common. It's everywhere. It's replaceable. And yet, despite being so painfully ordinary, dirt has been there for almost everything. It protected the player when they were weak. It covered their mistakes when they were careless. It helped them turn imagination into reality. It grew the crops that kept them alive. It gave them somewhere to stand, and perhaps that's the strange thing about Minecraft. The player spends their entire journey searching for things that are valuable, while walking on something they've never considered valuable at all. Diamonds are valuable because they're rare. Netherite is valuable because it's powerful. But dirt? Dirt is valuable because the player uses it. A meaningless block becomes a home. A patch of ground becomes a farm. A pile of blocks becomes a staircase. A temporary outline becomes a castle. And a simple piece of earth becomes part of a memory. And there is something strangely beautiful about dirt. It is perhaps the most ordinary thing in this world, No one celebrates it. No one dreams of finding it. You never hear someone say, "I finally found dirt." And yet, when everything else is gone, dirt remains. When the forests have been stripped bare, when the mountains have been carved into, when the last precious material has been taken from the earth, there it is, dirt, quietly waiting beneath our feet. It asks for nothing. It doesn't demand to be admired. It doesn't need to shine. It doesn't need to be rare. It simply exists. And somehow, despite being treated as worthless, dirt has given us more than we ever gave it credit for. It was there when we built our first shelter. When we were afraid of the darkness, we didn't need diamonds. We didn't need enchanted armor. We didn't need some magnificent castle. We needed 4 walls, and dirt was enough. It protected us from the night. It gave us somewhere to breathe, somewhere to wait until morning. And when we finally became strong enough to leave that little shelter behind, we left the dirt there, forgotten. The same dirt that once meant safety became nothing more than something in the way, and it never complained. Even when we replaced it with stone, it stayed beneath us. Even when we replaced stone with iron, it stayed beneath us. Even when we built kingdoms from the rarest blocks in existence, dirt was still beneath them. And maybe that's what makes it beautiful. Dirt doesn't need to be important to be valuable. It doesn't need recognition for what it does. It gives and asks for nothing back. And perhaps that's why we overlook it. Because we're always searching for something greater, something rarer, something worth showing off. We forget that sometimes the things that matter most are the things that were there before we knew they mattered. So the next time you see a dirt block, don't break it immediately. Just look at it. Because that little insignificant block has been there through every beginning. Every terrible night, every first shelter, every failed build, every plan, every adventure, and when everything else eventually disappears, when the diamonds are gone, when the iron runs dry, when the castles crumble, when the world has nothing left to survive, dirt will still be there, quietly waiting beneath your feet, just as it always was, just as it always will be, and maybe that's all dirt ever wanted to be. Not the most valuable block, not the strongest, not the rarest, just the one you could always count on. The block that never asked to be remembered, but was always there when you needed it. So maybe dirt was never worthless. Maybe it was simply waiting for someone to give it purpose. Because at the end of the day, dirt is just worthless dirt. The player gives it meaning.